was self-storage actually, which is been a great investment in the U.S. and we're now investors in Big Yellow, which is one of the largest UK self-storage guys. I'm sure you probably have seen them before.
I know, yeah.
Okay, so I've done it over and over again, not just in the UK, but in Asia and other places as well. It if you find a good business, it tends to work. There's always exceptions, but in general, I find it to be sort of a good sourcing strategy. And so I started looking at the low-cost gym model outside of the U.S. And so I came across Gym Group as part of sort of that diligence process. I've also spent a little bit time, but not very much on Basic Fit. And then I know there's like one or two in Japan that I haven't spent as much time on. But in any case, Gym Group is kind of where I've spent most of my early focus on. It also happens to be a good fit for us in terms of sizing. So we tend to focus on companies that are kind of in our sweet spot, I would say, is like $250 million, $300 million market cap to $3 billion. So it's kind of still early to mid-stage, mid-cap type names that we think have the potential to become much, much bigger over time. And ones that are going through some form of change is another area that we tend to focus on. So when I saw this recent acquisition of Easy Gym or Easy Fit, I can't even remember now off the top of my head what Easy Gym that Gym Group made, it got me interested in kind of thinking about what's the strategic implications of that. Does that mean it can expand internationally, et cetera, et cetera? So I would say at this point, I've done 3 other phone calls on this, maybe 3 or 4 sort of phone calls on the name so far, but still, I would say relatively early in my at least phone diligence process. That said, I've read basically all the materials the company itself has put out. I've got a financial model built out, all that kind of fun stuff. So that part's all done. It's now kind of a decision as to whether this is something I should make like my highest priority to work on, or could be interesting, but don't need to work on it right now, or I'm totally wrong. I'm off base. This is not interesting at all, and I should go move on to find other things, right? So these phone calls are meant to help me sort of decide on that decision tree of how much further to dig. So I don't know. Is that helpful as context at least?
Yeah, no, that's very helpful. Obviously, so that's helpful to understand your perspective. So why don't I give you 2 minutes on me that you may or may not have got. I mean, obviously you've probably seen my sort of CV on
I get the benefit of your brief bio, so.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's there's a lot more than that. But basically, yeah. So I spent about 7 years at Deloitte advising into the sector when Fitness First, back in the late 90s and the 2000s, when it went through a massive acceleration and expansion, and then went from AIM to public company and went from 20 odd sites to the thick end of 500. So I was on the other side of doing all of those due diligences in Europe and Asia and Australia. And then when they went private, I flipped onto the other side of the fence, worked in their UK team to strengthen, deal with their finance team and turn their like for likes. Then that's when it was bought by Cinven. Then it got flipped to BC Partners in 2005. And I moved to the group team there, so I dealt with all the tax restructuring there, but obviously seeing the wider, and it's a full service model, largely a dry estate in the UK. It was not a low cost model estate, but had elements of land grab sites that would have been ideal sites to fit that model because they were without pools and they were in locations that they're not non-premium locations, so they were not yield attractive, very standard stuff. So did that for a while until about 2008, and then I spent 7 years at LA Fitness, CFO, refinancing, restructuring, divesting some sites. We then did 2 quite aggressive CVAs to release the premium part of the business, sold part of that business to Sports Direct into their sort of low-cost model, and then sold the business to Pure Gyms and then integrated